So again, I'm Wendy Gold, and I'm talking tonight about being a power of a studio mentor. I have a website, which is Wendy Photography. I'm also on Instagram. Currently, I have 2 pages on there because I started back in 2011 with Instagram with iPhoneography, apps and things like that, editing textures. And that account is Kalyani9. And then my studio and natural light account is WGG_photography. And I have a Facebook business page, Wendy Photography as well. So I'm working with Craig Gum Photography and MDR Imagery. Those are one and the same for Craig Gum. And this is Craig Gum right here sitting on the front row. I am one of 7 studio members, and if you're interested in joining the studio, you're more than welcome to chat with me or Craig after the talk. Craig Gum Photography is mainly creative, artistic, and alternative modeling. We work with models, makeup and hair, and we have a makeup and hair person that works out of the studio. We have various sets that we put together. We have lighting equipment, Paul C. Buff equipment with various, modifiers and various strengths of lights, 14, 800, 600, 300, 400, I'm sorry. We shoot in the studio and on location. MDR Imagery is more of the grad, seniors, student activity portraits such as dance and softball and football, high jump, and so on. We do family photos, weddings. We do some editorial and advertising photography for Southern Distinction, and all with the twist. Some of the imagery uses composite photo editing, so if some of you are interested in that type of thing, that might be something to consider for joining the studio as well. Craig's website is craiggum.com, and MDR Imagery has its own Facebook page. Okay, so before I talk about my progression that led me to the studio, I had a question in my mind when I was, starting this whole thing, because I love so much, and you're going to see in a minute. So how could I get from what I was doing at the time, families and kids in natural light, to highly styled images using experienced models, well-crafted lighting, beautiful hair, makeup, and costumes? And so just recently, this is a young lady who now lives in New York. I think she's from China or Taiwan, named Zhang Jingna. And her journey was very interesting. I took an online course from her, and she does advertising and fashion now. This is also another individual that I'm inspired by named Kirsty Mitchell, who has a very strong fashion design background. You can see in this bottom right photo, those are actually individual wooden fans that she has spray painted to make a headdress for this model. And I wanted to be able to do more work similar to this type of thing. And she's written a book called Wonderland. And that's, I think, something that may be hard to get. I think you have to order it. Okay, what's this? For a lot of people, maybe younger people, they're not sure what this is. I'll explain. Well, first of all, the upper left corner is the very first camera I had. I had a Mount Minolta XD11 back when I was 15, and I used that camera for about 20 years, and I didn't really even think twice about buying another lens. I literally used that camera throughout college and well into my 30s. I did spend a lot of time in the darkroom. I learned how to develop film and print images. I spent a lot of time doing that. When I was very young, maybe in high school, 16, 17, I found out about a program at the Atlanta College of Art, and it was an opportunity to do painting and drawing from a live studio model, learn photography and printing, and I remember going to that class, and he put the paper in the developing tank, and watching that print come up in the developing tank was like magic for me. That was it. I had to know more. So while I was at this school in the summer, about 6 weeks, I heard about a college called the Rhode Island School of Design. And I decided to apply there, and I got accepted. So I wanted to talk, I'm kind of jumping around, but not really, a little bit back and forth. So media, when I was growing up, wasn't the internet. It was Life magazine. very influential, at least in my childhood, because the Vietnam War was going on, Nixon was in the middle of Watergate, you know, all of those famous things, they landed on the moon, all of these things when I was a child. So journalistic photography was very impactful. You know, you see the little girl running with whatever, Agent Orange on her body, and it was just, you know, no one saw those kind of things. It was shocking, terribly shocking to see that. And I remember as a child just being really affected by it emotionally. And of course, as a teenage girl, Vogue magazine was a very popular thing to look at fashion photography. You know, and then when I was young, a little older, I moved to New York, and Interview magazine, which was started by Andy Warhol, came out. And then this magazine down at the bottom left is more of an alternative kind of design magazine with not much copy, but a lot of design. It was called Wet Magazine, and it had just amazing imagery in there. But all the photographers that worked for Vogue were, you know, you'd see them. You may not have even known their names, but eventually over time I did learn who they were. So I did go to art school in Rhode Island, at the Rhode Island School of Design, and I had seen this book. Probably, you know, some teenager had it in the house, you know, when I was growing up that I might have grown up with. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know who Diane Arbus was, but when I got to college, all of the other kids were from New York. They went to, you know, art and design schools and different schools like that in high school. I mean, now we have magnet schools, and they are everywhere. But when I was growing up, it was very rare. I mean, we learned Latin, you know, and math, and, you know, no art. Very rare, very, very rare to have art. So when I started looking at these things that I was exposed to in art school, Diane Arbus had an effect not only on me, but many artists that are around today. She was someone who had said, I took pictures of things that you know, can stare at in the pictures that I've taken, but you would never stare at them in person. And her pictures were of people that I guess we would call, you know, circus people, transvestites, human oddities, you know, that kind of thing. People that you ordinarily wouldn't have any opportunity to know or see. So my aunt traveled often, and she brought this book back to her house one day from being out of town. Maybe she had gone to New York, and it was a coffee table book, a huge, big photo book by Francesco Scabullo. And I remember opening this book up and seeing a picture of young Brooke Shields and just being like, my mouth was, you know, wide open. I could not believe how beautiful these photos were. Famous models like Lauren Hutton, Jerry Hall, all affected me very deeply. The beautiful quality of light. I mean, you know, you gotta remember that it's sort of like hearing a song by the Beach Boys in 1970 or whatever it was that just sounded so different from anything else. And that's what this photography was like for me. And Richard Avedon was always in Vogue magazine, tons of fashion work. And then at one point he had done this series where he traveled all over the West and, you know, brought a big view camera, and whoever he met, he photographed. And this is a huge series that I know was in the Museum of Modern Art. And it was very, you know, again, another thing that impressed me very much. This is Irving Penn. Irving Penn was another gentleman who worked for Vogue magazine for, you know, probably 40 or 50 years. And the first time I ever saw the picture of the frozen vegetables, it just took me away. I don't know why, but it was such a simple idea. And I just was pretty impressed by that. And I always loved to see the beautiful lighting that he did and the makeup that he would do, or that the makeup artist would do. Everything was so clean and smooth. And of course, he did many celebrities. And I just love the white, you know, the softbox lighting. I was just very intrigued by that. And this is Sally Mann, another person that I'm very influenced by. Learned more about her in college. Her images were mostly of her kids. She's done many different types of series right now. In the early 90s, she did work with collodion process, which is, you know, I think we had a lecture on that many months ago. It's become more popular to do this type of photography, but when she was doing it was the early 90s. And I had a wedding 10 years later after she photographed this, and it was in New York, and I went to the gallery, and they showed me not only the pictures in the drawer, as I went up to the gallery, I called ahead of time and they actually showed me these things. And they even told me some secrets of how she did some of this stuff. And I was like, wow, I can try this, you know. But the collodion process is very, very difficult. This is Joel Peter Whitkin's work. Very shocking, very different. I don't know, it just bowled me over when I saw it. These still lifes with human, you know, human heads. Very, very almost old world, kind of painterly, Dutch painterly like. And this is another gentleman that I'm very affected by too. His name is Joseph Sudek. And I'd known about him, his work, for maybe a little while before I actually ended up going to Prague because my girlfriend was working for a newspaper in Prague. This was after the wall came down in between East and West Germany. So I'll just go back. So he was a gentleman who photographed very simple things. He said the banal. I photograph everyday objects. And I just found these simple things to be very beautiful. And this is Cindy Sherman, and I think she's probably influenced so many photographers today, probably don't even know who she is and why they're interested in what they're interested in. It's like a Xerox copy of everyone trying these things. So when she was young, probably in the 70s, she shot pictures of herself in, she called them film stills. And then she started to dress herself up in all these crazy costumes, very involved type of things, to pretending to be old paintings or women from another age. So I went to the University of the Arts and studied graphic design many years later after I had my first degree when I was 19 or whatever, and I always loved photography. And I worked as a graphic designer in Pittsburgh for about 5 years, and I joined this place called Pittsburgh Filmmakers. They taught Carnegie Mellon students, University of Pittsburgh students, and so on. And I had a dark room there, and they taught classes. I took pinhole photography, view camera photography, and I was still involved with that when I moved to Athens in the early 2000s, but my design career really was very all-encompassing, so a lot of my work just kind of went to the background. Instagram came out, and I became active on it in 2011, and I was shooting and editing with various apps that were coming out. They were just like candy, and every minute there was something new and had to try it. And so here are some images from my, I just have a few, I have so many pictures, I was like, all right, let me just choose a few. So from 2012 to today, so I would go to the garden, take pictures of flowers, and then edit with textures. This is one example. I know y'all have seen some of these maybe. This is actually not there anymore, I bet, because it's behind the doctor's offices on 316. It was just a little lake area. And one day it was raining, and I had my camera, my iPhone with me, and I took a bunch of shots of this because I all live in Europe, and I don't get the opportunity like some of these people who have this amazing work on these canals and things. So this is a picture I took, an edited image that I made. The bowl I loved with my mother-in-law. I bought this, I think, at a museum or something. She had oranges in it, and I just making still lifes around the house. And when I was in New Mexico, again, this is another iPhone image, edited image of the sky. It rarely rains there, so it's like an opportunity to take an image with clouds and stuff. And this is, the beach in Encinitas, where I spent some time. My husband's family lives up there. And this is my backyard. I have a few of these, and then I'm going to jump to talk a little bit more about this new DSLR type of stuff. So it would be very foggy in January, and I would just run around the neighborhood taking pictures with my iPhone. So when I bought my camera, I met this young lady. I had sold her a violin bow, and her husband was going off to the Middle East, and he's a pilot in the Air Force Reserve or something, and she wanted photos. So these were this is the very first family I ever took any photos of. All natural light, no strobe. I would ask friends, can I take a picture of your daughter? Yes. So I would go to their house and take photos. I was involved at a wedding, and a lady said, oh, everybody can come, bring your camera. So I was able to get some pretty good photos. I want to show everything because there's just so much. This is a picture of my sister's cat and my sister. And she's a pretty expressive person. She's an actress, so I knew that I'd be able to direct her pretty easily. I went to a barbecue. I'd been to this barbecue before in the past. I knew that I wanted to take pictures of the landscape, but I ended up chasing this little child around the whole time I was there. And her father picked her up, and I said, "Oh, stand over there," because these hay bales were huge, and the light from the side, coming in on the side, was so beautiful. And so I got that. And these are more, friends going through cancer. She wanted bald photos of herself, and we just ran around the botanical garden taking a lot of photos that day. Okay, so I was a member of APG, and this fella, I'd seen him here, and his name was Kid Fielto and his wife Tabitha, and he had posted on Facebook on the APG page, "Hey, anybody want to have a picture taken of themselves? We don't have any photos of ourselves because I'm too busy taking pictures myself. I don't have the time to do that. Would someone be interested in trading?" And I said, "Yes, I would." I said, "But you don't have to take my picture. Let me just do yours." He goes, "No, you come." And I really didn't want my picture taken, but going and having him take my picture was good because I could see the strobe lights. And that's when I got more interested in strobe. So I was very fortunate to get this image. We were on the roof of the parking deck, and I asked for permission, and the man said, "Well, since you asked for permission, yes, you can stay up there for as long as you want." So it helps to ask permission, I guess. So the wind was blowing, and it made its tie do that, and I just happened to get lucky enough to take that picture, and then they started laughing really hard, and we had a really fun day, laughing and running around taking photos. And I took these of them also. It was kind of by that, it looks like an old factory. There used to be a graphic design department. Okay, so while I was, in that same stage, I was joined Meet and Shoot, which is on the, I found out about it through Meetup. Yeah, that's how I found out about it. And they were meeting up at the Lake Lanier. So they brought these lights. They brought Halsey Buff lights, and they set them up, and we were there from maybe 4 or 5 o'clock till sundown, or maybe even before then, I know it was a pretty long day. And there were 4 or 5 models, and we just kept shooting, and all these people standing in line. And I took this photo of her, and I thought she looked like something out of, a Hans Holbein painting, the one by Henry VIII wearing all the rings, Dutch painter, and I also edited this a little bit, and I did shoot this with my DSLR. Then after I figured out how to do it, I had a flash, and I had a Westcott, light box. And this gentleman is a model. His name is Robert Hamilton, and he had been posing for one of the classes I took at the continuing ed school over at UGA. And I called him one day, and he said, "Sure, I'll come over." And I took these of him. One's in natural light, and one's with the strobe in the same position I was taught, over at the Meet and Shoot. So once I heard about Craig Gumb's studio, which I heard about through Kid Fielto, with the tide blowing in the wind, and his wife, I heard about Craig Gumb's studio then, and I had been looking at his portfolio and the pictures he was taking of women and the makeup, and and he had a few photos. I said, "Well, how did you do this? And how did you do that?" And he said, I did some freelancing or, helping out at Craig Gumb Photography. So I kind of put it on the back burner. I don't think I was really ready to call right away when, we were chatting about this, but I called in February of this year, and I met Craig, and I decided to join. I returned later that afternoon to shoot as a model was coming that day. So it was all really quick. And I joined because I wanted to shoot more often and in as many situations as possible to learn how to solve lighting issues. I wanted to be able to also plan ahead for shoots much better, and this was an opportunity to complete that goal. And I knew repetition was the key to learning. And I needed to be in situations where I'd get a chance to shoot, see my mistakes, and correct them. Models come in and work with Craig as we assist, and he gives us a chance to do a few setups if time allows, and the model agrees, and most of the time that's fine. And if we want to do something particular, in fact, Craig encourages it. What idea do you have, you know? And we don't know how. Craig explains how and why to get the best results. Sometimes he directs as we shoot with his camera, and it becomes a team effort. Just recently, I had an opportunity to shoot a wedding with him last week, and I was assigned tasks such as shooting the wedding ring, shooting details, taking photos of the bride as she walked up to the stage with the groom, details in the makeup room, and more. I was using some flash and not, so you know there's certain settings that you have to learn to shoot. So also editorial work is something that Craig is very involved with. One of the first things I helped with was Southern Brewery, and he said, come along. He brought one light, and he goes, take all these pictures, and I just ran around, and I did the shooting in there, and the photos were part of an advertorial in Southern Distinction. And then he sent me out just recently on my own. Are you nervous, he says? Yes, you should be, he said. Doctor's office, individual and group portraits, as well as the new Athens Regional Medical Center building going up over there in Oconee. So this was the very first day I started taking pictures at Craig's. This model, very experienced model, beautiful girl, just, you know, the camera loves her. I mean, look at her skin, her hair. And she knows how to move really well. So I was able to edit out, sorry, excuse me, let me go back. I was able to edit, you know, through a bunch of images that I'd taken of her, and I just liked this one the best. And, you know, at first I know that I probably didn't understand what I was really doing, but I knew to just keep pushing, pushing, pushing. So this young lady came in, she was a newer model, hadn't had any pictures. And you know, here's a situation where it was sort of like sink or swim, but it wasn't really sinky. It was just more like, okay, I'm just going to do this. And that's the kind of push that I needed to move ahead, you know, to get where I wanted to be, which is still developing. And this young lady came in, and I had seen a painting of a woman playing the piano, and her hair was lit with her neck kind of sitting around, and she just, you know, was moving around so much, and I was like, oh my God, I got to keep up with this girl, you know. This was like the second time I'd ever done this, but I felt that the lighting came out really, really nicely on this, and I just kept moving the lighting around until I got what I liked. So I also have worked with one of the other members in the studio as well, Emily Pittman, and she's close with this model who's, I think, the best model I've worked with, you know, amazingly experienced model. She knows a lot about photography. She's just a very, very sharp lady. And she just knows how to move her body. And I said, oh, sit in this chair. I mean, that we were really pretty much on her own, you know, in that particular moment of that shoot. I think it was just me and Emily that day, I think. Can't remember. Yes, it was, because we had the big bathtub too. So these were originally in color, and I just thought they looked better in black and white, so I edited them in black and white. And then Emily invited this young lady who wanted to do some modeling. Emily designed the headdress, made the wig, put flowers in it, sewed them in, painted her all over with paint, you know, very carefully. It took many hours actually. And I was kind of running around, you know, the studio, found this big box of flowers. We had this awesome yellow metal chair, and I just started putting flowers, wrapping the flowers on the chair. When it was my turn to take a picture, this is the one I took. This was a very good experience for me because I really didn't work with props very much. This was a time when, again, a model came in and Craig said, well, what is your idea? And I wanted to try to shoot something with the lace and have it, be the shadow on her face or body. And this was more technical than I was used. I would have never known how to get this image. It almost looks like a real sun. It isn't sun at all. It's a studio strobe placed very far away, facing this young lady, to have a contrasty look. And I kind of had to kind of get between her and the lace in order to get this image. But I feel this is like, I'm proud of this because of learning what I learned. I mean, I just don't think I could have figured that out on my own. That's why I think having a mentor is very important. And this was one light, a one-light portrait of this woman. I think she looks like a painting. This young lady came in. This was for MDR Imagery. She's a senior, and she had a lot of pictures done. This was another different kind of way of thinking. I never thought to do something like this, but Craig put the flash, the strobe light outside, right in front of the doorway. She's standing in the doorway. And we opened up the aperture just to let more of the background come through, and used a flash put on a low setting. So the wind was blowing, and I just really like this of her. This is my stepdaughter. I did this by myself. And she's a dancer, so she really knows how to move and pose. So it was easy for me to direct her, you know, because for a long time I was very nervous working with these people. I don't know what to do, I don't know what to say. But I've gotten much better. My confidence has grown. Again, another reason to have a mentor. So one day, this young lady came in, and she wanted a Marilyn Monroe styled photo shoot. And I learned how to, with Craig, you know, setting up things, to work with that infinite white background. And she just has such an awesome smile, you know. And she's beautiful, you know, she just has a beautiful face. And one of the days that Lilith came in, she's a very experienced younger model. I had bought this headdress from Poland, and I was anxious to use it. And we went outside, it was extremely hot, and she was very happy to acquiesce. I mean, maybe not, but she did. And she just moved around. She just really is a beautiful artist. And I took this picture of her again, one light, just one light, and this was growing in the background. So I thought it worked out pretty nicely. And then we did a maternity shoot for a young lady. And you can see one on a black, sort of a black background and a white background. This is the first time I was ever, you know, doing anything on my own in the studio, and I wanted to try more with trying to, I guess, sculpt natural light. And I'd like to move more further ahead with that as well. And this was a wonderful opportunity to do this. She wanted to try some things, and she had some ideas she wanted to do, and so did I. And she wanted to do some more Marilyn Monroe, and I used kind of a grainy texture to this, and she was really excited about that with the results. And I think there are a couple of lights on this, not just one. Okay, so here we come to the me assisting Craig photos. This is MDR. This is his niece, who is a gymnast, and she came in one day, and this is we had water that we put in their hair, and they just got as wet as could be. And this is composited image with a water spray as well. And I find these images just amazingly powerful. I mean, I don't know, I was able to, he said he directed us, I was on the floor, and as she jumped, we'd shoot and shoot and shoot and shoot. And she did all kinds of different jumps and poses. There's like a whole poster of different poses that she's done. This is another Craig Gum composite image. Amy came in, we had this wedding dress there, we kind of roughed it up a little bit, and this is sort of almost like a poem in a sense, but it's sort of like almost reminds me of like an album cover or something for music. Craig composited this after she had stood, you know, in the white background, and you can see his artistry here, and it's sort of a themed photo shoot that may be about someone who is, you looking for something new. She's in a desert, but she's kind of like tired and moving on from something in her life. And this is another one of the same, that same day. I'm either holding the light over here, probably a beauty dish, and someone else is pulling this beautiful gauze cloth, and then Craig composited her into the room. And it's almost as if she's trying to escape, trying to, again, move on. It had a theme of, like, change in life changes. This is another one I worked on and Craig edited. And I like the busy background, how it's sort of like, edited. And this girl is sitting in the chair very still, contemplative, about something. I just feel like this has like a kind of a mixed energy. It's more of almost like a painting. This is another one I helped work on, and it's sort of about our time today, with all the cell phones and maybe children. And I know that Craig was inspired by a painting his friend did. And this young lady came in, and we took pictures of her as she moved, toward the left or right, each picture, and then he kind of edited them all together. Just stacked. And with this was one where we got the floor wet. We had it in kind of a box with water was in the box, and she started tap dancing. And then I think some of the drops may be edited, a few of them. This is real water. She's really tapping it, and we got her wet as well. And I didn't work on this one, but I really like it. I like the idea of the fact that this boy was somewhere in the studio just sitting in a chair, and then it's edited into this sort of Batman kind of ominous scene where he's just kind of calmly reading. So this is the kind of work that we do. Again, this is a sports student that does high jump, and we went out to Oglethorpe High School and worked on this. The powder that you see is just flour that we just kept throwing up on him, and he just kept doing all of these jumps. And I think we had one light for that as well. And the sun was setting in the background, so it made for a really good composition. This I really love. I think it's hysterical in a lot of ways, because he's got his graduate cap on and holding all these things from high school football, science book, this, I believe, might be composite as well.
No, that's real.
So he really jumped. Wow.
Getting that cactus down on stuff.
That's incredible. That's an incredible photo. So Southern Distinctions, this is the last thing I'm going to show. But, we didn't shoot the cover, but this was what I mentioned going into Southern Brewing and taking images. So they had these beautiful barrels, and we brought one strobe light in. So this was something new for me to be able to do out, in public, not in the studio. One strobe light, it just had such a beautiful quality to it. And I think we used a softbox. And I just ran around and took a bunch of images, which they used for Southern Brewing Company's advertorial. Yeah, I think most of these, a lot of them are natural light, not just strobe. And that's where I'm at this point. Thank you.